Listen, acceptance of truth precedes all responsibility, all right? We cannot take responsibility for anything in life that we're not aware we can actually take responsibility for, all right? It's kind of, if you think about how it is that children learn and grow, right? What happens when children are like tots, maybe 2 or 3, and they're sitting on their nappy? They haven't yet learned to wipe their own bums. So what do they shout? Once they're done-dones, either done-dones or finished or something like that. Come on, I know you know what I'm talking about. All right, I can remember sitting in my toilet at the age of about 5 years old, and I'm not kind of, this is, of course, isn't turning into toilet humour or anything like this, but I remember sitting there, maybe around about 4, 5 years old. All right, as I always had done, I developed a habit. Finished, right, and that was it. And I was waiting for mum or dad to take responsibility for wiping my rear end, right? And dad came through and he said, "What do you want me to do about it? I'm not wiping it for you." I was absolutely horrified. In fact, I was offended. I took offence, right? "You're not going to wipe my rear end for me, Dad. How dare you? I'm going to divorce you as a parent," right? Shame on you, shame on you. All right, and we see that attitude in various aspects of society through certain generational perspectives, don't we? Right, okay, so if we are to progress in life, we progress as we take responsibility for creating the changes that we need or we want to see more of. So progress is all, hopefully now you understand, is about moving away from our current conditions, our less than ideals, and moving towards our ideals. So we can't move closer towards our ideals until we acknowledge the part that we've played in creating our less than ideals. Make sense? Capiche, capuche, comprendez-vous? Right, so 3 factors determine how much progress we make in life. First factor, our willingness to accept truth, right? Why are my conditions the way that they are? Why are my life circumstances as they are? Never mind blaming other people, it's what part am I playing in the process? Personal responsibility precedes personal empowerment. The second factor is actually having faith for an ideal outcome to actualize, which can only happen if we have clarity of the next steps that we need to take to get from here to there. But we need a compelling vision, all right? So if we don't have a compelling vision for an outcome that we want more of in life, i.e. I want to develop a successful business, I want to change the world, I want to make an improvement in society, I want to be happily married with 2.4 children, I want to launch a social enterprise, I want to sing a song, I want to do a dance, I want to be a soldier, sailor, candlestick maker, whatever your vision is entirely up to you, all right? Vision is just what we see. There's no kind of, as I've mentioned, no tap dancing angels, kind of no sparkly moments. God, when God's speaking, here's the vision and the purpose for your life. It doesn't work like this, right? Vision's just, what do you see? What do you want? What's good, right? What could an ideal outcome look like for you in life, in your relationships, in your finances, professionally, vocationally, educationally? Right? Do you want to make some sort of social impact? Would you like to be a social influencer? What would this influence look like? It's about us just taking time to detail the specifics of what it is that we want to see happen through our lives. Right? The vision has to be something that would get you out of bed in the morning. If your vision is not inspiring, and some people say, "I just want to lose weight, that's my goal," well, that's not going to particularly inspire you, is it? We would refer to that as a negatively framed goal. Why? Because all you're then going to have to focus on is all the stuff you're going to have to cut out of your life, which you most likely already enjoy. Some people say, "I just want to save money, that's my vision, that's my goal." For what purpose? All right, A, on one level you might die tomorrow, and B, if you need to save money today, you're going to have to compromise spending money today, which you most likely quite like. So you're going to have to undermine and stop doing some stuff that you don't like. You ain't going to be inspired to do that, by the way. Right, okay, so accepting truth, why are my conditions as they are? Compelling vision, how will I create the conditions that I want? Now, we've got to look at how it is that we bridge the gap. Clarity of the next few steps. This is the transition, all right? So we've got to define the ideal. This is where the vision comes from, all right? How creative do I want to express myself in life? How virtuous do I want to become? Do I want to be taken seriously throughout society or laughed at? Do I want people to laugh with me or just laugh at me? Financial goals. I will be financially free. Well, I have no debts. I'm working on clearing my debts right now. That's a pretty good goal. Some people have, their main goal in life is to make money. I'm motivated by making money. I want to make $1 million. But seriously, if you have financial goals in your future, the question is, what are you willing to plan? You know, what business are you going to build? How is it that you're going to upskill, become a master at something, and then share this mastery that you've learned or developed with other people? Because unless you do this, then no one's going to pay for you. Progress. What does progress look like? We'll come on to that in a minute. Intimacy. Right? Do you have the level of intimacy in your relationships that you want? I.e., do people trust you? Do they admire you? Do they respect you? Are people kind of like really rushing to spend time with you? Right? As I say, I get it. Like where I'm at this stage of my life, I've got the sort of 10 to 15% haters, and the rest are lovers. Like people are kind of either fully in, fully out when it comes to me, the fiery Scottish guy. All right, so the 10, 15% complain. I don't care, whatever, jog on, go and pester someone else. But the rest of them, I'm like, right, okay, I'm fully in with you, so I get this. So I serve people who are for me, right? I don't give any time to people who aren't for me, couldn't care less about them, right? It's a good standard to live our lives by. Many people get so preoccupied with people who aren't for them. This person's not for me. Well, leave them behind. Right? Get over it. Move on to the next person. There's like 7.6 billion people in the world, plenty to choose from. Our character. Right? How are we growing? Because if we're growing, then we're growing in character, which is in virtue, maturity, responsibility, decisiveness, consistency, strength, virtue, integrity, sincerity, creativity, all that sort of thing. When we're growing, our sense of direction just becomes clearer. So this is all future focused. All right? We need to get clear on all this kind of stuff, what we actually want, and no one else can decide upon this other than you. There is no teacher in the world who can hold your hand and say, right, so what would you like more of in your relationships? Let's break it down specifically, unless of course you hire a coach, but there's no guy teaching a course like this who can do this for you. All right? So you've got your ideal self-concept, you know where you want to be roughly. Then you have your current conditions that are less than ideal. If your current conditions are ideal, well, you're not going to be inspired to do anything, are you? Now we need to transition. We need to move from point A to point B. But in order to do this well, we need to understand what transition looks like. We need absolute clarity. Otherwise, we stand at risk of completely undermining ourselves. So there is a model that I would like to call upon here and honour Kübler-Ross. Kübler-Ross was, I think she was a developmental psychologist. God rest her soul, she's no longer with us, but she hugely influenced some of the more modern-ish kind of talking therapies in the world, such as counselling today. Kübler-Ross spent years studying transition, all right? Because people only get stuck when they reach a stage in their process of transition that becomes too overwhelming for them. All right, my goodness, I'm hoping that when we kind of go through this, you're going to be able to identify the reasons why so many people are so quickly diagnosed as being unstable or unwell or having a condition today. Right? There's a lot of psychologists out there and psychotherapists out there and doctors who do not understand this. This is a psychological model, not a psychiatric one. It's not a medical model. It's not a scientific model. It's just a model that we can use to relate our lives up against, right? To make better sense of our lives. Right? Come on, it's all about growing and understanding. And we're all wanting to make progress, and we're all at a certain stage in the journey. This is the journey. This is the journey that we're all on. All right? So think about it. This is the life transition curve. There's a pretty good chance that you are already transitioning in one or more areas of your life, perhaps in your thinking, perhaps in a relationship. Maybe someone's left you. Maybe you've left a job or you're wanting to move from one career to another. Right? I went through this. I think I shared earlier on when I left the military. This is what I relate to, this transition curve. I can relate to every single component of it. Right? This model will also help us understand where the comfort zone is and how sometimes some people end up committing to the comfort zone and stop growing. Right? So this will also help you understand that. So we're either performing positively in the various areas of our life today, or we're not. Think about what happens when change enters our life. A loved one dies. And this model was actually centered around a lot of people who were working their way through grief or who are mourning the loss of a loved one. What Kübler-Ross proposed was that when a change enters into a person's life, they enter a state of sudden shock. Right? And all that happens is change happens. People tend to get caught off guard because people just expect change not to happen, even though change is the only constant that we have in life. Change happens, kind of like that deer in the headlights. Oh my goodness, change has happened. I never thought for a second that change would happen. My goodness, when does change ever happen apart from all the time? So it's like people get like totally surprised when change happens in life. Because like nothing's ever changing, like ever, is it? Well, hang about, no, all things are changing all of the time. But people just get comfortable and expect the change isn't going to happen to them. So deer in the headlights happened. Shock. What does this change mean? Am I doomed for? Is it game over, Red Rover for me? Am I gonna literally, is this the end of life as I know it? Or is it an opportunity to grow? I guess our outlook and our attitude, our mindset will determine what happens next. Let's just say that a person evolves in this transition, because some people just stay in a place of shock forever. Go through life like this. Until they get sick and tired of realising that they kind of now need to respond like maturely and sensibly. So, right, they enter into a place of panic or denial. Now, let me give you a practical example of this. And I have shared this story in the past. Do you remember COVID-19 when it first kicked off? So, the virus existed, it was there, it was already sweeping the globe. We know that the US and the UK, possibly a little bit late to come to the party. I think Trump was in office at the time and he was like, yeah, whatever, it'll blow over. Yeah, it blew over, all right. The whole world for a long time. Here in the UK, Boris Johnson, he was like, yeah, whatever, our economy, number one priority, we'll be fine. No, we weren't fine. The whole world wasn't fine. A lot of people died. Right, one of these things. Listen, it caught us off all guard. It caught us all, we were all not expecting it, right? It shocked us all. There's been conspiracy theories that have fallen on from, I know that Trump's got a lot of stick, Johnson's got a lot of stick, various leaders around the world have got stick. Listen, right, who is prepared for a global pandemic, right? I certainly wasn't. Neither was my wife, Karen. So some people go into panic, and many people did. Can you remember the 2020 toilet roll wars? Like seriously, remember the toilet roll wars? And this is when COVID-19, it's a virus, it's an illness, what does this mean? So people kind of went into sudden shock. Some people, like me, I was like, yeah, whatever, it'll blow over. Trump, yeah, it'll blow over. Boris Johnson, yeah, it'll blow over. Whilst the supermarkets and the grocery stores were getting ransacked. What you've got is you've got kind of people panicking. All the toilet rolls were gone. And we're talking about literally people climbing over each other. You've got old grannies, grandmas with their handbags. They're like kind of battering rams. You know, young men getting knocked all over the place. They're fighting each other to get that last roll of soft and fluffy. Right? No one wants the hard stuff, do they? Of course not, especially in lockdown. You want the comfortable stuff. Why we're talking about this, I'm not quite sure. But what I'm saying here is when the toilet roll wars were going on, right? I'm watching this on the news saying, look at these clowns. This is crazy. The world's gone absolutely potty. It's gone demented. People gone absolutely crazy, but people were just going into a state of panic. I was in a place of complete denial. I was still saying it will blow over. All right. I said to my wife, Karen, it's all right. Look at all these crazy people. We've got a Costco's card. We'll just go to Costco's and buy in bulk. All right. We'll just kind of buy in bulk from Amazon or something like that. And then, Amazon sold out. No toilet roll available for 6 weeks. Well, that's a bit concerning. Right, I reckon we maybe should just go to Costco's, i.e. right now. Then we went to Costco's. And seriously, they were like, oh, climbing over each other in Costco's. And I'm talking, everything was gone. Like rice, pasta sauce, beans. You couldn't even get a tin of beans. It was all gone. Nothing. Oh my goodness. This is like a real issue. This is like World War Z kicking off. You know, have you ever watched that movie, that Brad Pitt movie, World War Z? I'm not sure if you're into zombie movies or not, but I quite like that one, to be honest. And there's a part in the movie, a scene. I think they're in Jerusalem. They're in the old kind of, what were they in? Some sort of castle. I don't know. Never been to Jerusalem. Anyway, there's a big wall, and all the zombies are kind of outside, and they're all kind of talking about, yeah, we've got this zombie apocalypse under wraps. We're all right. We've got it all together in here. Then you've got all the kind of toilet roll hunters over the other side of the wall. They're all like climbing over each other. Then the next thing, all the zombies start pouring over the wall. Then everyone's infected. Everyone dies. And it was kind of like that, wasn't it? All right? I could probably just stop talking about toilet rolls now, but I think you get it, right? This transition, it took some people a long time to transition. We had a business partner at the time. He didn't even kind of go into sudden shock. Like COVID-19, global pandemic, he was panic. And he was like, I think he's still kind of running around somewhere in Scotland, like running around the hills in Scotland now. I'm not sure if he's even kind of aware that it's over. We haven't seen him for like a year. Seriously. Talk about social isolation. This guy just disappeared off the face of the planet. Like a business partner. It's crazy. So, then what happens next? So, sudden shock, panic or denial, and then people go into a little bit of sadness and insecurity. What does this mean? Is this the end of the world as we know it? But let's just kind of change the theme a little bit. It could be the end of a relationship, the loss of a loved one. It could be, someone loses their job or gets made redundant, because through the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people died. Joking aside here, a lot of people died. It was devastating, right? Many people lost loved ones, and then many other people lost their jobs. So either way, whether people lost loved ones or lost their jobs, life changed. What happened next, right? Mental health disorders. Ooh, were they really disorders? Did people really pick up mental health conditions? Or did they just become very, very sad because things had just changed rapidly, unexpectedly, without any warning? People were in a comfort zone and thought that their lives were kind of just tickety-boo and all rosy. And for many people, they had this rug literally pulled from under their feet. Insecurity, well, what does this mean about me? What am I going to do next? I'm not quite sure. I've just lost a whole lot of stuff that I was comfortable with. I've lost loved ones. Sadness accompanies loss and mourning. Sadness accompanies loss and mourning. You know that loss and mourning and sadness is just part of the human experience? I know there's a bunch of bright sparks called the American Association of Psychiatry who like to diagnose loss and mourning as a mental disorder these days. They can be treated with medication. But the last time I lost someone that I loved, it took me about a year to get over it. It certainly wasn't a disorder. It's called loss and mourning, right? It's a process that we go through in life. It's very, very human, right? Nothing psychological, nothing ill, nothing disease-ridden about it. Just part of the human experience. But we've got to understand this. Sometimes we kind of end up getting into this hole. But listen, once we've hit rock bottom, we can't go any lower. There's only then another direction that we can go in. But this is where many people get stuck, because here, some people just give up. Oh, I'm disenfranchised. I'm done for. I'm beat. I'm a victim. There's no coming back from this. Well, of course there is. The second that we accept that things have changed and we own the opportunity that we have to change and grow and do something about it. So COVID-19 changed the world on a global scale. Education was changed. Some young people and children lost a year of education, right? Some schools kind of lost out. I think some training organisations around the world, like St Andrews University, one of the most prestigious in the world, was on the brink of bankruptcy because it didn't change, right? Didn't think about taking his teachings online until kind of last minute and lost a lot of money, right? In order for businesses to sustain, they've got to make profits, which means that unless businesses aren't changing with the times, businesses will become irrelevant. And in the same way, unless people are changing with the times and changing with change, some people end up becoming irrelevant and also get left behind. For clarity's sake. For clarity's sake. But listen, we're not finished yet, because what we want to do is we want to reach somewhere better, right? This is not the ideal destination, but it does become some people's circumstances. So, okay, things have changed. I can't control things changing, but I can control how I respond to change now that it has happened. I can either feel sad, feel sorry for myself, maybe a doctor will give me some medication and make my life kind of work out. Maybe there's a therapist who can give me a cuddle or give me some talking therapy, or maybe take me through some art or some dancing or some singing who can make me feel well. And I'm just talking about therapy here, all right? Generally not particularly empowering. Why? Because unless a person's taking responsibility for driving their own life, then nothing's going to get driven. Nothing ain't going to change. You can talk about your problems till you're blue in the face, but until you take ownership and accept that the only person who can resolve your problems is you, then nothing ain't going to change, all right? So what do? Well, we've got to start learning. We've got to start testing new ideas. We've got to start putting some new things into practice. It might mean that we have to step right outside the comfort zone now, like seriously. So what happened? Well, online education went kaboom. I was quite well positioned, I must say. I had like all sorts of training courses. COVID-19 happened. Like, honestly, my income, my earnings literally quadrupled overnight. I was like, rock on. Fantastic. I was prepared for it. But many businesses weren't, right? I went in one direction, other people went in another. I get it. But listen, it's just transition. It doesn't matter whether we're going up or whether we're going down. Transition is just transition. We've sometimes just got to learn to take the rough with the smooth, the good times and the bad times. It's all just experience, right? So we've got to adapt, we've got to adjust. If we don't change with the times, we get left behind. As we start seeing, right, okay, so I'm making some changes here, I'm perhaps changing my thinking, I'm maybe upskilling, I'm possibly kind of changing some habits, maybe going to use a little bit less toilet paper, whatever, might stop eating rice and start eating something else, potatoes, who knows. I realise I can change, I can change, all right? I don't have to be beat, I don't have to be overwhelmed or overcome, I can change anything. I can create new outcomes for myself if I will continue to commit to this process of changing and growing. So I become full of hope rather than full of sadness and insecurity. I start developing hope. I grow to learn new things about myself. Wow, I never knew that I could be so resourceful. Who knew? No one ever taught me this in school. I was taught that, growing and developing life was all about remembering information, like what our education institutions tell us. And as we grow in kind of insight, as we grow to appreciate exactly what it is that we actually can take responsibility for in life, i.e. ourselves, we grow in confidence. You know that confidence only accompanies personal responsibility. Personal responsibility precedes personal empowerment. Personal empowerment is the basis for all confidence. Right? You might want to replay that one and listen to it again. I think there was something in that. Right, so as we grow in hope, self-discovery and in confidence, we enter into a new normal. I got this. I got this change. The world's changed. The economy's changed. My situation's changed. I lost something that I liked. I lost someone that I loved. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm stronger. I've become stronger. But we only become stronger if we stick to the process. It's a process. It's a life transition curve. You ain't going to get from your current conditions to your ideal conditions unless you persevere and persist. Unless you persevere and persist.